Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit Azabi here, back again with Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. We are on episode 3, and in the last episode, it was a really good episode to sort of start off our journey in a way. Like, I feel like almost what they could have done is somewhat similar to sort of Fate, where they had an extended episode that kind of just encapsulated everything as a whole in one whole episode. They obviously didn't end up doing that, but I feel like it could have almost benefited from that. Now, this isn't me sort of like trashing on the episode 1 or anything like that, you know what I mean? I enjoyed it for what it was, but you know, I think I did actually talk about it in the post discussion for that episode, that it felt like we came out sort of swinging in a way, and like almost like, you know, we were dropped into the middle of a story, and then in episode 2 we went back to the beginning to see how they kind of got to this point, you know, which is one way to tell a story, you know what I mean? So I'm not trashing on episode 1, but the people in the comments, thank you very much for that, by the way, did bring up the point that in the original Fullmetal Alchemist, they actually did start back in, like, around episode, like, where episode 2 is in Brotherhood. Like, it started a completely different, in a completely different way as to this one. People were saying that episode 1 of Brotherhood is almost like an amalgamation of expecting, like, what's to come throughout the show. So, you know, it's just one of those things. I kind of get you, I guess, hyped up for what is inevitably going to come, but, you know, obviously getting the story in episode 2 and having that whole episode sort of encompass everything surrounding how you know, the Elric brothers got to where they were, and everything. So yeah, I really enjoyed episode 2. I mean, talking about it, yeah, so Trisha Elric, the mother, ended up dying due to an epidemic. The Elric brothers obviously tried to you know, do this human transmutation thing to try and bring her back, and, you know, there was this whole scene involving this sort of everything being, like, you know, what is akin to a god, almost, that is sort of in charge of this whole thing of equivalent exchange. Like, it's a weird being which I want to get more sort of background on as to how it works, but that's, I mean, I talked about that in the last episode, about how I don't know how much they're really going to go into it, because it can easily become a being that is just sort of like, I mean, this could be the only time we ever see that thing, you know, and it's just like kind of giving you just a little taste of, well, this is kind of how it works. There is this sort of, you know, this being that is sort of like above humanity in a way that allows all of this kind of stuff to happen, but other than that, you're not going to get any more information on what it is. It's kind of like a, you know, a mysterious figure that you know, that is sort of overseeing everything. So I can see them doing that, but of course, as mysterious beings go, you obviously want to know more information about them. But you know, we'll see if that ever crops up again. I'm sure that Edward himself will bring it up at some point, you know what I mean, because he has obviously that knowledge of that. Somebody did say in the comments as well that I just want to talk about real quick, is the whole thing about a soul, because obviously I was talking about the soul and how much is it really tied to sort of like the person themselves, like, and the way that this person described it is almost like, it's almost like the like a part of the soul and the body is actually almost one, which I actually did pick up on in the editing. So when I was editing the video, there's a moment where Edward is obviously in that sort of weird realm with the everything being, and his leg is coming apart and almost like unwrapping, and in those wrappings that he is like falling through, when he goes, like, he gets pulled through the door, right, and he's falling past this sort of ribbon, which is like sort of implanted with memories on what you would assume is like almost his skin, like his body is projecting these memories. So it's an interesting thing that I'm gonna have to just keep it, like, you know, keep that in my mind for anything going on in the future, that this whole thing with the human soul and everything is tied to the body itself, which is an interesting sort of premise, because I feel like in our world we don't associate that. Like, in the real world we associate the body as just a vessel, that the human soul is just the sort of conscious thought in the brain, almost, you know, and like, you know, so it's an interesting premise that the body and soul are actually supposed to be one in this universe, and it's kind of like they're tied both together, which is why it's interesting that you have this human transmutation thing, I guess, tearing the soul away from the body to put it in a suit of armor, is an interesting sort of thing there, and how that actually came to be is something interesting that I really want to get into more. Other than that, there's only one thing that I didn't actually mention. I actually wrote down something while I was editing the video afterwards, so obviously I didn't talk about it last episode. I just wanted to talk about the Winry for a second. When she was back to, like, you know, when she was a little girl and she came to the graveyard, right? And you know, she was saying you shouldn't cry because that family member in the afterlife feels sad that you're crying over that, like, over the fact that they died. And Edward immediately shot back at her, basically saying that you can't talk because you cry every time your parents leave. And then later on in the episode, it was actually revealed that her parents actually died whilst away. So it's like that kind of thing of just like, you know, her parents hadn't died by that point, but the fact that she was crying because every time they left, she didn't know what was going to happen to them. It kind of, you know, it becomes real, I guess. It's sort of like at that point where it's kind of like, I guess it, in a way, it does project Edward's sort of arrogance in a way as a protagonist, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, that's going to be the interesting thing as we go on, is this character development, which I'm really excited for. So yes, other than that, we don't have anything else to really talk about. You know, I've been rambling on for a good 6.5 minutes now, so yeah, we can go get into the episode. So yeah, the episode reaction will be there on YouTube, right? But if it does get taken down for copyright for any reason, then I'll re-upload the video, and the link to the reaction will be in the description below. There's also the link to the full length as well in the description below if you want to watch my reactions to these in full and not just the 10-minute cut version. Then the offer is there for you. But yeah, nothing else to really talk about, so we're going to get in episode 3, see what we get. So without further ado, let's go.
God's children who live upon this land, pray in faith and ye shall be saved.
Oh, nice. Just repair through alchemy. Nice.
There, see? How's that?
Amazing. It's a miracle. You've been touched by the sun god, just like Father Cornello.
Touched by who now?
It's not a
Sun
miracle.
god, yeah.
It's alchemy.
I wrote that
So
down.
you two are alchemists. Right, I've heard of them.
City of Heresy.
What's with this guy on the radio?
We were lost until he came to town and began teaching us all the ways of the sun god Leto.
He grants eternal life to the souls of the faithful.
He can even resurrect the dead.
So this guy's claiming he can
Resurrect
bring the
the dead.
dead back to life? Now that's something I gotta see.
That's alchemy, no doubt about it.
But somehow he's ignoring the law of equivalent exchange. He should have only been able to transmute that flower into an object of equal mass.
And he's changing organic matter into inorganic matter. He shouldn't be able to do that.
Bingo.
That's the Philosopher's Stone in there, in the ring. Wouldn't be surprised if he's part of this group.
My prayer, I beg of you. Please bring him back.
So this is the almighty Leto.
Welcome. Are you interested in Letoism?
Nope, can't say I am. Not really the religious
Letoism.
type.
To know God is to know hope. If we believe in divine grace, and through him all things are possible.
What about bringing the dead back to life? Do you believe that's possible too?
Yes.
Water 35 liters, carbon 20 kilograms, ammonia 4 liters, lime 1.5 kilograms, phosphorus
The
800
human
grams,
transformation-
salt 250
transmutation
grams, saltpeter 100 grams, and various
ingredients.
other trace elements. That list represents the complete chemical makeup of the human body for the average adult. It's been calculated to the last microgram, but still, there's never been one reported case of successfully creating a human life. And you're telling me something modern science can't do, you can do with prayer?
Science
Did I
versus
mention all
religion.
those ingredients I read off? Down at the market, a kid could buy every one of them for the spare change in his pocket.
We are all children of God, created in his image.
You have to understand, alchemists are scientists. We don't believe in unprovable concepts like creators or gods. Ironic, really. That through the application of science, we have in many ways been given the power to play gods ourselves.
So you're putting yourself on the same level as God? That's just sheer arrogance.
You know, there's an old myth about a hero who flew on wings made of wax. He thought he could touch the sun, but when he got too close, his wings melted and he came crashing back down to Earth.
The story of Icarus, right?
A child and a man wearing a suit of armor. They would only give their names as the Elric brothers.
You're positive?
Yes, Father, that's what they call themselves. No mistake.
Damn, then this is a problem. Edward Elric, the Fullmetal Alchemist, has come to call on us.
Surely they couldn't have found out about our plans.
It's possible this dog's nose is too sharp for his own good.
Our evil plans.
We'll make this quick.
pray, what is this? What do you think you're doing?
Rose, these heathens have come to ensnare and discredit the father.
Like you said, let's make this quick!
Edward is decent in hand-to-hand combat.
Oh yeah, strike!
What's this commotion? I must apologize for my disciples' behavior. It would seem they've been misguided.
Okay, let's say I believe you weren't the one guiding them. What next?
Have you come to learn the ways of Leto?
You've been using second-rate alchemy to deceive your followers.
My dear boy, I don't know what you mean. Look again. Could mere alchemy create something from nothing in this way?
If you'd somehow managed to acquire a certain object to amplify your alchemy, one that's said to make the impossible possible, that would explain everything.
What?
I'm talking about the Philosopher's Stone. Your ring.
I'm surprised we've found one so quickly.
The ring is just a ring. I am God's humble servant. It is from he alone that I derive my power. Rose, dear.
Yes, Father?
That gun there beside you, pick it up.
Fucking...
Now, child, I want you to shoot the Fullmetal Alchemist.
No, Father, I can't do that.
I am the Sun God's chosen emissary. My word is the word of Leto himself. Shoot him, Rose.
We should
It's
do it.
God's will. You lost your fiancé to that tragic accident last year. Who was it that saved you from the very depths of despair?
Ah, fucking...
It was you, Father.
That's right. It was I who took your hand and led you into God's
Using
light.
religion for
And you recall what
violence,
it was I promised
dude.
you then?
You said if I had faith, you'd bring him back to life. I'm sorry, but I have to do this. I don't have any choice.
He's been lying to you, Rose.
You're wrong. I've seen his miracles. Father Cornello will bring him back to life. I have faith.
Fine, then shoot.
Lost his head again.
Good. God Leto is pleased. You have done well, my child.
But your head, I thought you were...
Don't worry about it. He's pretty solid.
Yeah, see? No harm done.
An empty suit of armor.
And that was done through alchemy as well,
you
so...
still doubt it, Rose.
Not... Oh, God.
And I believe my Chimera should be up to the task.
So this is the sort of thing you do
Chimera?
with the Philosopher's Stone. That's just twisted.
Nah, it's his
No
spear again.
transmutation circle?
Fucking hell.
Spear is no match for Chimera claws that tear through wire.
Fucking
I
hell.
guess those claws don't do so good against steel.
Fight him, you stupid beast!
Kick the Chimera back.
Go on, get a good taste.
What? How is he this good at hand-to-hand combat?
Your arm. A brother trapped in armor. You did it, didn't you? The one thing even the most novice alchemist knows is strictly forbidden.
Why don't you come down here and try me? I'll show you real quick who the novice is.
Fullmetal Alchemist.
In their arrogance, they tried to bring someone dead back to life.
This is what happens when you try to play God or whatever you want to call it. Take a good look, Rose. Is this what you want?
If you fools are really so eager to play God, then perhaps I should send you to beat him instead!
Just turn it with a minigun, dude. Fucking hell.
This way!
Ah, that's cool. He created a
Don't just
door.
stand there after them!
What he said back there is true, isn't it?
We're not evil. All we wanted was to see our mom smile again. We learned our mistake the hard way. People don't come back from the dead. The price of even a failed human transmutation was enormous.
Yeah.
It cost my brother his left leg, and it cost me my whole body. His leg had been taken, he was bleeding, but through all that he still gave up his right arm to transmute my soul and bonded me to this suit of armor.
Right, okay.
That's the path we chose. All we can do is keep moving.
There you are, you infernal brat!
Look, can we just cut the crap and talk here? Could do anything with the Philosopher's Stone, right? So why waste all that power performing phony miracles?
He wants
Because
control.
with each miracle, I can attract new believers to the Order.
Yeah.
Believers who would lay down their lives for my sake. In a few more years, I'll be ready to unleash this mindless horde upon the world. And I'll use the Philosopher's Stone to tear this country apart.
You really are a novice, aren't you?
Not off switch.
You don't mean that!
Send it
Never
out.
any miracles, Rose. He lied to you.
Oh.
He lied to everyone.
That's what he was using the bell for.
Why you? How long? How long has
That's
this been
ingenious.
on? You'll pay dearly for this.
Sorry, not today!
Oh,
It's a rebound.
it fused to his arm.
Behold, the chosen emissary of the sun
Oh,
god Leto!
God, he's transforming himself. Fucking Christ. Jesus.
My word is the divine word of God himself. My fist is the almighty fist of judgment.
What you want, you can have
Oh God, he's gonna change the he's gonna change the statue. That's so good. That's so good, man.
it! Give me the Philosopher's Stone!
Oh, that was the thing. That's what came
How
out
did
in
it just
episode
break
1.
like that? It's a damn fake.
Please don't. I'm helpless without the stone. Spare me, please.
So it was fake then, but it still managed to do something.
Sorry, Al. For a while there, I thought we'd really found a way to get your body back.
Give me the Philosopher's Stone!
Oh God, just fuck.
It's shattered now.
Liar! You want to keep it for yourself, don't you? So you can use it on your bodies, so you can try to bring your mother back again!
You shut up! People don't come back from the dead, Rose. Not ever.
But he promised me.
Hope is a dangerous thing.
That was all I had left! What am I supposed to believe in now? Tell me what to do! Please!
You have to figure it out. Keep moving forward.
Forward, yeah.
You've got 2 good legs, so use them.
2 good
You're
legs.
strong enough to make your own path.
It's
I
Groot.
knew we should have just incited a little rebellion.
You.
I'm hungry, lass. Can I eat the old man, please?
Was
He's
he-
big and fat.
Eating the Chimera? I was gonna say
We
Chimera,
don't
aren't
want
they?
you giving yourself indigestion.
I won't stand for.
Oh.
Just as things were beginning to look promising.
Jesus.
Father won't be pleased. In any case, it's time we started thinking about our next move.
Ugh. Christ. Okay, episode 3. Yeah, very, very good episode. You know what I'm quickly learning about this show just by that episode alone is like the little sort of intricate details or mentions in dialogue that actually like they really just bring it home. I think, especially like the biggest example of that in this episode was Edward telling Rose that like you have 2 good legs. You know, he's talking about keep moving forward. You know what I mean? It just because it brings it back to you know, back then when he basically he couldn't walk anymore. You know, he can now, but like, you know, just little things like that. You know what I mean? Like just really, it just improves that sort of dialogue quality, I think. So I'm just really happy with how it's going so far. Even like, you know, clever dialogue being one thing, but the use of like interesting little things that they do, like changing the wall to a door so they can exit out. It's so interesting because it's almost like the expectation was when it sort of panned over to the wall that they were just going to like bombard their way through and it would just leave a massive hole. But because obviously it's alchemy and an equivalent exchange, they took basically the wall and turned it into a door, so it was an exit. It was an exit route. It was great. Another one, like, you know, giving Father Cornello like a god punch back by, you know, Edward going to the statue and making it so that his actual fist came out and hit Father Cornello. Just stuff like that is so interesting, like, you know, visually and just like it's very symbolic, I feel like, with what they were doing. There's also that whole thing of like what I've talked about in the previous episodes, is this whole thing between obviously alchemy. I think in episode 1, before we even started episode 1, I was talking about how alchemy is always like it's on that line, right, isn't it, between science and magic. And if you want to put it up as religion is more based upon that kind of like the magic of God, and the science of alchemy. But the thing is, with alchemy, that equivalent exchange thing is still magic, you know what I mean? So alchemy in terms of a science does fall on that sort of that line, especially in this regard. I mean, if you're talking about like legitimate alchemy, like in our world, where it's you put together ingredients and you make them into some kind of remedy that'll heal you a bit over time, as opposed to like a legitimate health potion. You know what I mean, like stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, definitely a good, interesting episode. The immediately from almost like the first line of the episode, immediately giving you the insight as to what's coming in this episode with the religion of the sun god Leto and everything like that. And it's literally just Letoism. That's the religion. And having the one sort of follower as a sort of character basis for all the other followers. You obviously don't need all the other followers really in shot at all. The only time where it actually mattered was when they became a mob, because they realized that he was talking shit the whole time and they were trying to get at him. But yeah, so having Rose as that, and also the good thing about it is having Rose as that sort of her story of trying to or wanting to bring somebody back to life through through worshipping and a god trying to bring a loved one back to life is an interesting dynamic. And there has always been that thing between like science and religion, where it's just like they don't sort of coexist really. Like it's either kind of one or the other. There are people who have their obviously own beliefs, so it's not just tied down specifically to religion and then just go by whatever the book says kind of thing. Like there are people out there that say that there is a god and everything like that, but evolution was still a thing. So like if you're taking it to our world, the real world, that there are people that obviously believe that. But yeah, I mean, having her have that sort of that be her sort of character arc, and I thought over the course of how how short anime episodes can feel, because realistically they're only like 20 minutes long, because obviously you have to have time for the ending and the opening to go through, and her arc was very like really well done for how short it was, you know what I mean? Like that whole thing of hope and sort of faith, like immediately there. She gave out all of the telling signs of someone who is like religious in that regard, and how it's like I mean, their first exchange with the Elrics, Edward basically immediately coming out and saying that the laws of equivalent exchange and everything like that done through alchemy, that's what really is true. This whole Letoism, or whatever you want to call it, is just it's phony, it's not real. But like, so she was like, she was called him a heretic and everything like that. But then, when they were like, "Can you take us to see Father Cornello?" and everything like that, like she perked back up again. You know what I mean? And she has that sort of, she does have that like very nicey, like on the outside, like very very hopeful for other people to join in. And I feel like that's very much what religion kind of is in a nutshell. But her sort of arc of going through like from that exchange to her following the Elrics into the room to meet with Father Cornello, and then Cornello basically using religion as a sort of a vice for violence, which is something that again is a real world issue. Like it's always a case when there is ever a war involved, that it comes down to religion is the catalyst for it, because people just can't get on, and everyone, like people around the world having different values depending on who you know, like what their religion is or anything like that. So, you know, taking real world issues and implanting them in this sort of fictional universe it's nothing new for anime. Anime do it all the time, but I feel like the way they are implementing this into the story, I just feel like everything fits together so nicely in a package. You know, it's just really exciting to watch. Like you don't know what's really going to come next, and everything's just enthralling. So yeah, I mean, from there she was obviously told to shoot, you know, the Elric brothers, and to her it's like being manipulated, you know what I mean? It's like it's a similar thing of like, you know, kids being indoctrinated into some sort of like society, like if you want to relate it to ISIS or whatever, you know. Obviously I don't think ISIS wasn't a thing when this was released, but it's that similar sort of idea, right? It's like kids being indoctrinated, and in a way, because she had that sort of vice of trying to get her husband back, that it ended up sort of taking up all the space in her mind, as that's all she ever really wanted. Like even the idea of just wanting that hope and religion, it was there for her. But the interesting thing is that I don't think she ever really wanted that sort of. She just needed some reassurance in a way, like it, you know, like she never got over it. But that idea that what possibly could be can give her some, you know, some peace of mind. But the problem is that it never really did. You know what I mean? She said she'd been there a year and nothing come through. She was promised, but she still held on to that hope, and you can tell that because as soon as you know, everything was basically released, like through the speaker, which that was an amazing scene as well. Like basically outputting everything that Father Cornello was saying, and Alphonse basically using the bell as a massive speaker. It was so good. But that after all of that information was out there, that he was faking it all, that she immediately reverted back. Like, you know, that whole thing of taking up her mind of wanting to get her husband back immediately reverted to like, all right, now, well, give me the Philosopher's Stone then, you know. And she was holding up the gun. Now obviously she couldn't go through with it. At the end of the day, I guess in a way it was kind of lucky the first shot that she took ended up hitting Alphonse, because it's not gonna affect Alphonse in a way. But yeah, I felt like her character arc there, throughout that episode, was just really well done for how short the episode was. So yeah, really, really cool. So yeah, what else? Where should we go to next? Yeah, so he made a Chimera. That's insane. Like I imagine what he'd done was he must have taken a lion, you know, a bird. What else is in a Chimera? Is it like does it have like a scorpion tail as well? I think a Chimera is basically just it's not even, you know, I'm trying to think of like the image that, you know, comes up when you do think of a Chimera. Is generally it is a lion's head with talons on the back end, and then I think it's like a scorpion tail or something. But I think a Chimera basically just means a mixture of like anything really, right? But yeah, the most famous one is the lion head, really. But it can be like a mixture of certain things as well. You know, wings, being able to fly and everything like that. But that one didn't, though. That one didn't have wings. But yeah, I imagine what he just did was he just got these animals and merged them together in one. And in a way, it was kind of, I guess, symbolic that kind of rebounded and happened to him in a way. Like, it wasn't any animals that he fused with, but he ended up fusing with, like, like, you know, material that he was, you know, essentially trying to use. And in a way, just like, it's like it became sort of just this amalgamation, this sort of this monster himself. It's interesting, this rebound thing, though, and I don't know the degree of, like, is that just, I mean, I guess it's just a literal sense, right? It's literally just the stone didn't do what Father Cornello wanted it to do. And I'm wondering if it's a case of, like, because Edward said that it was fake, right? I'm going to take that as it is, and it is fake, but it still held the properties of what a Philosopher's Stone does. Like, it still made something like out of nothing. The equivalent exchange wasn't there for that. You know what I mean? It was able to make more. So it's very interesting that that was the case, and I don't know how that is. The only thing I can think of is that the real Philosopher's Stone, whoever has it, if it even is a thing, but for now we're going to assume that it is actually a thing, and it's not just a legendary, like, you know, mythical thing that could be, but, you know, ends up not being. I'm going to assume that there is a Philosopher's Stone in this world. I'm going to assume that that's what the Philosopher's Stone created. He created these, whoever was in charge of it created these little, you know, little fake sort of copies, or whatever you want to call them. But as soon as they're sort of, I don't know, like, if energy is, you know, if you know, like, maybe it's only got like a certain amount of uses or anything like that, or if the person wielding it asks for too much, then it basically, you know, turns its back on them in a way and then forces it back on themselves. I don't know. But the interesting thing about that was that was the exact same like ball that McDougal had in episode 1, right? Yeah, Isaac McDougal. He had that little red ball. Now, the only one who showed up in that episode immediately after that happened was Kimberly, right? The guy who was in the Crimson Alchemist, which is interesting because that is the color of the stone. So he must have some form of, like, he must know what's going on, or he creates them. One of the two, I feel like. Like I said, one of the two. It's like, even if he did create them, then he would know what's going on. So technically, it's both, right? But like, he either created it, or he knows like what it all entails. The thing is that he knew as soon as that guy died. Like, it's like he felt that that fake Philosopher's Stone vanished. You know what I mean? He realized that. I mean, it's not like he could really see, right? So yeah. It's interesting, but they're giving it out in a way, and I wonder if that's like, I think it's interesting. This Father Cornello and everything like that, he tried to obviously build up essentially like an army, right, to basically destroy, you know, basically for power's sake, right? And what's interesting is that I think he was being used as well, and I think that's what this group is doing. Like, whoever that woman is and Gluttony and everything like that, whoever they're part of, are using these like little pawns to further their objective, whatever it is they're doing. Because I feel like Isaac McDougal is the same one. Now, I remember when that in episode 1, when that ball disappeared after Isaac died, I think I recall talking about how I feel like it could be used to manipulate or control in a way. Sort of keep them under a leash almost, and I wonder if that is the case. You know, but like, I think my original theory in that episode of Kimberly and being involved in whatever that group of people are, being in, like, you know, because I remember saying like I wouldn't be surprised if they were, if Kimberly was a part of that, and I feel like now that that specific dude has, you know, he had one of those fake stones, I feel like that must be the case. But yeah, I mean, what else have we got? We had Alphonse basically talking about, you know, sort of in detail of everything that happened, like, you know, his sort of side of what had happened, that when he lost his body, the body part that Edward had lost was his leg, but when he was tying Alphonse's soul to the suit of armor, he gave up his that's what, you know, had to be taken, was his arm, which is interesting. But is that what you would call equal value, though? It depends on what is equal, because in this show they're obviously talking about how it has to be equal in mass, and it's actual physical matter that has to be given or taken in order to get what you want, right? So I mean, it's a case of how do you quantify. That's the thing, isn't it? Like, how do you quantify a soul? If we're going by this whole thing that the body is and the soul in this show are sort of connected, like, and that, you know, they're one and the same kind of, then that means there has to be some physical matter involving memories then as well. I know, like, we don't really think of it, like, we wouldn't think, you wouldn't think of a memory, for example, and think of it as a physical thing, you know what I mean? But I guess, like, the way we think about it is it's more like data in a way, you know what I mean? So there is something, you know what I mean? Like, I think I remember, like, years ago, like, watching a video, like, it could have been Vsauce or something like that, like, talking about does data weigh anything or anything like that. And I wonder if the body and the soul are like combined as one. If we go back to episode 2 when he's flying through the, like, sort of that void, that white void, and there's that, you know, spinning sort of you know, like, basically like memory thing. Because Edward was able to tie Alphonse's soul to the suit of armor after he had been there, Edward was saying that he gained, like, the knowledge of everything at that point, but obviously he'd forgotten all of it. Like, he can't contain all of that knowledge and all those memories that, you know, that if he went back there, was he giving up knowledge and memory? And that's how it was like given back in order to have Alphonse tied to the suit. I don't know if I'm going, like, overboard in terms of, like, my thought process on how that works or anything like that, but I'm just trying to figure out, like, how does the cost or matter of a soul tied to a suit of armor? Because if the soul and the body are combined, then that surely Alphonse's whole body / soul can't be equivalent to one of Edward's arms. You know what I mean? So I can only assume that it had to have been, right? It has to be memories and so, like, and whatnot that he gave up as well. The memories of the knowledge that he literally just got when he was in that void. It sounds stupid when I'm saying it out loud, but, like, I don't know. It's an interesting one. It is an interesting one. Yeah, I think we'll just leave it at that because I don't really know what else to say. So yeah, what else? Yeah, so they brought up the story of Icarus as well. Again, you know, talking about, like, taking things from sort of like the real world and putting it into this world, because I'm positive this world is not our world. I've said that before, but that obviously they've taken the story of Icarus, which is something that is in our, like, real world, like, you know, in terms of mythology and everything. I believe it's Greek. So it's like to do with, like, the Greek gods and everything like that. So yeah, back in that time, but that's a well-known story in our thing. Now, it wasn't wax though. I don't know the ins and outs of that story. I just know that he basically flew into the sun. You know what I mean? He got gifted wings, or something like that, and he basically flew into the sun. Not knowing how hot it was, but it basically there's different sort of tales, whether he flew into the sun or he basically got so close that the feathers, like his wings, essentially burned off and he fell. There's different things like to that, you know, but I feel like if you got close enough to the sun anyway, like if it was enough to burn off your wings, that you would just be pulled in by the sun's gravity anyway. So technically you wouldn't fall like, I mean, you definitely wouldn't fall back to Earth. You know what I mean? At that point, you would be just taken in by the closest gravity. You know. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, so what else? What else? What else? Oh yeah, there was a the whole thing as well with because he was talking about obviously his mother, right, and bringing that back. That, you know, it was kind of almost confirmed that he was saying that like that wasn't our mother there. So I remember obviously I was talking about how, yeah, I thought that I'm pretty sure that was her mother. Now, sorry, their mother. Now, I'm still in the sort of the, I'm still thinking that it was, but just a body. But you can't bring back a soul. You see, that's the issue, isn't it? That's the clutch of like why, what I'm trying to get my head around is that if people are saying that the soul and the body are combined, where was Alphonse's soul when his body was gone? That's the issue, right? Because then, if it's like bringing back their mother's, you know, corpse essentially, where was her soul gone? Because I mean, I guess if we're sort of tying it back to, well, it's not even tying back to reality because we don't know, do we? But the idea that like when you're dead, you go into like a sort of purgatory, like for a bit before you know what I mean, before your soul is like, you know, transferred into heaven or hell or whatever. So I don't know, maybe there's a time thing on it. Like the fact that their mother was dead for so long, like it was just impossible to bring them back. But if a soul can remain intact because it hasn't been that long since their body has, like, you know what I mean, the soul has left the body, then maybe that's what it is. If it's based on a time thing. The problem with that though is that, yeah, I mean, see, this is the thing. Like now, I just don't know whether to believe whoever said that the human and the soul are tied together. Yeah, like the human, the body and the soul. I don't know, you know, because then that would have to suggest that they would be different things and the soul is separate. You know. I don't know, but yeah, and then at the end there, of course, Father Cornello getting these sort of just desserts, yeah. So we saw basically that woman who we still haven't got the name for. She has fingernail elongation, right through the fucking head, right through the forehead. And Gluttony goes on to fucking eat him. I think he was eating the Chimera as well before he went on to Father Cornello. But yeah, Gluttony has a transmutation circle on his tongue. So there's obviously some form of alchemy, which is the reason why he eats people, that is allowing him to do that, you know. In a what way? Like, I wonder if when he eats them, like, he transforms them into something else to digest. You know, so damn. It's dark, man. This show can turn from like dark to light, you know, dark to lightheartedness like really, really quickly, you know. But you know, I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. I also love the fact that Edward, right, when he first got his name of Fullmetal, that he loved the idea of the name. He was like, yeah, that's you know, I love that. It's like really like sort of like aggressive, like, you know, kind of suits him down to the ground. But like I see, as sort of time goes on, that I feel like he would start to hate it because Alphonse is literally like a full metal suit of armor, so everyone just assumes that he's the Fullmetal Alchemist and not Edward. And I feel like Edward would just be like, he's starting to get annoyed with it. It's like for something that he thought was like really cool, just ends up being a pain in the arse for him. It's really funny. But yeah, anyway, that is all I've got. So yeah, really cool episode. I don't know if Rose is going to be a thing that, you know, like a character that like returns or anything like that. You know, I feel like her story was encompassed as like a sort of like a side piece to you know, the story that was going on with Father Cornello and everything like that. Like, she represented basically the followers of this made up religion and everything like that. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, really cool episode, and yeah, can't wait to get into episode 4. So I will get an episode 4, which will come out the same day as this episode 3. So if you want to get if you want to get access to episode 5 and 6 right now, you can do by becoming an early access tier patron over on my Patreon. That'll give you access to shows a week early. And everything like that. So yeah, go over that, check that out. There's also the full length tier as well, so if you want to watch any of my episode reactions in full and not just the 10-minute cut version, then that offers that for you as well. And there is the exclusive tier, which gives you access to my movie reactions and things like that. I want to react to movies, so yeah, keep an eye out for that, because a lot of movies are coming up soon. And yeah, there's also a link to the Discord in the description below as well, so if you want to get over there, you can do. But that is all I've got for this episode, so thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.